This is going to be a difficult video. Not difficult for me to make it, but rather difficult in the sense of how I'm going to come across. I'm going to come across like an asshole, like a son of a bitch. But somebody has to tell you this. And so I might as well be the one. The issue is you have to learn to use people. Learn to use people so that they can get the things that you want for you. You have to use them. Yes, use people. Now, this is a very upsetting notion, of course, because we have been brought up in our Christian civilization to look at people as ends in themselves. I mean, that's the whole notion of it. Immanuel Kant explained it very, very clearly. We are supposed to use one another as ends in themselves. We are supposed to interact with people because of them, not what they can do for us. But the fact is, in this life, you are going to have to use people all the time, and you're going to have to learn to use people. Learn to use them so that they'll do what you want to your benefit, not to theirs. You know, we're born with this ability. Oh yeah, look at babies. Have you noticed babies? Babies learn very early on to get what they want. Well, they're born with it because when they cry, automatically, what does the mother do? The mother goes and feeds the child instantly. But what happens also is that as the child grows up a little bit, just a few months old, you know, the kid learns to smile and discovers that when he smiles at the adults, at these enormous grown-ups wandering around him, the grown-up will do whatever he wants. Yeah, and that's why little toddlers, 6, 8, 9 months old and so on, they smile all the time and they do cute shit all the time in order to get what they want. Yeah, my 5-year-old son, you know, he's a temperamental kid and he's a tough little kid, right? Sometimes, you know, he'll be like all like pouty and like upset, right? But sometimes he'll be like all like smiling and like do like funny faces, right? Deliberately funny faces. In all his pictures, he always puts on funny faces because he knows that when he puts on the funny faces, he'll get what he wants. He'll get what he wants from me, from his mother, from his grandparents, from every adult. Yeah. With his sister, he doesn't do this because he knows that with his sister it doesn't work. But with all the other adults, he uses us. Oh yeah. You have to do the same as the 5-year-old kid. You have to learn to use other people. It's something that we learn, or let me phrase it. It's something that we are born with, this ability to use people, as I explained, with babies and small children. And we sort of like forget it. We are socialized into not doing it, into not using other people. Who are the only people who use other people? Successful people. Yeah, I don't quite know when it is or how it is or why it is, but you know, sometime in our teenage years or something like that, we sort of like forget how to use people and we are discouraged from using people. But then there are some others, some of our peers who manipulate those around them, who manipulate them with charm, who manipulate them with smiles and get what they want. And we're all like angry at them, and yet at the same time we see how they get what they want and they succeed in life. Because that's what's necessary to succeed in life. Other people. Because we're social animals. Simple as that. We're social animals, and because of it we need other people in order to succeed, in order to achieve the life that we want. See, we can't get it on our own. It would be great if we could, but we can't. And so what we have to do is manipulate those around us to get them to help us get what we want. We forget this quality. In our contemporary civilization, I, honest to God, don't quite understand it. I'm thinking about it very, very hard, as a matter of fact, because it's something that once you notice it, you realize it. When you are a child or an infant, you manipulate people, you use them all the time, very successfully. But at some time, at some point in your teenage years, you sort of like forget how to do it. And there are some people who never learn after, and so they are always at the mercy of others. Yeah, other people use them. Other people manipulate them. Other people use them to get what they want. Most people are like that. Most people are just easily led. And so you have to ask yourself, like an adult, like a grown-up, a mature decision. Do you want to be somebody who is used by others, or do you want to be the user? It's as simple as that. It's a simple question. It's an honest question. There's no subterfuge going on. There's nothing, you know, this isn't any kind of like con game or anything. You have to ask yourself, like an adult, like a man, whether you're going to be somebody who is going to be used by others, or if you are going to be ruthless enough to use them to get what you want. If we're being frank here, in my own case, I realized that I learned to use people because when I was growing up, I was tossed around at the whim of others. Others used me to get whatever they wanted, or I was just a passive passenger in other people's lives as they pursued the life that they wanted, which was detrimental to my own. And at some point, I just decided, no, I'm going to get what I want. I'm going to live the life that I want. And if that means that I have to manipulate and use other people to get the life that I want and to have the existence that I want, then I'll do it. And I have. And sometimes I have had to do things that I'm just not particularly proud of. Sometimes I've had to create situations where somebody else acted in ways that was detrimental to them, but very beneficial to me. But it was necessary. It's a life lesson that you have to come to grips with and reconcile yourself to. You cannot allow yourself to just drift through life and not understand this truth about existence, that those who don't use other people will be tossed around by fate. And that was my fate. I was tossed around when I was growing up at random, at the whim of other people's desire, and it was just sort to have a little bit of sense of security for myself that I developed this ability, this quality of using other people to improve my situation. Now, I'm telling you this as an explanation, not an excuse. Okay, I don't make any excuses. I live the life that I think is best for me, and that's the point. You have to live the life that's best for you. You have to learn to use other people. If you want to be passive and tossed around by fate, fine. If you believe in a higher morality than I do, a Christian morality of using people as ends in themselves, I respect you. I think it's a foolish decision, but I respect you. That's perfectly fine. If you come to that decision consciously, awake. But it seems to me the ultimate sin is not to allow yourself to be passive or be a person who uses others. No, I think the ultimate sin is to ignore the decision. To ignore the decision and pretend that you don't have to make that decision. It seems to me that you do have to make that decision. You do have to determine what kind of life you want to lead. Whether it's going to be one that you are at the mercy of other people, or whether it's going to be a life that you decide. And therefore, by your decisions, you have to make other people do things for your benefit. See? This is the choice that I made, the latter choice. And of course, sometimes it's led to very unhappy outcomes, outcomes that I'm not proud of or happy with. But to tell you the truth, on balance, at the end of the day, now that I'm over half a century old, I've come to the realization that I am glad that I made this decision because, see, to be tossed around in life at the mercy of others, to me, I can't think of a worse fate. And because I experienced that when I was young, because my life was not my own, I didn't have any kind of real security, even though there was a great deal of financial security, but no emotional security. And I was just tossed around at random. I just couldn't live that life anymore, and I decided I never would. Make that decision consciously, awake. Don't ignore the decision. Be a man. And this is one of the questions that a man has to ask himself and answer.